I was driving home from my mother's house on Thanksgiving night, my two young children fast asleep in the back seat. The air outside was crisp and still, the kind of late November chill that seeps into your bones. Earlier, the house had been alive with laughter, smells of turkey, stuffing, and pumpkin pie mingling in the warm kitchen air. But now the quiet road stretched ahead, illuminated only by the dim glow of my headlights. I felt a rare sense of peace, listening to the soft breathing of my children. Thanksgiving had been perfect, or so I thought. That calm didn't last long. A car appeared behind me. At first, I barely noticed it. The road was busy with traffic leaving family dinners, and I assumed this vehicle was just headed the same way. But as I drove, the car stayed behind me, following too closely, keeping pace no matter how many turns I made. Unease began to creep in. 4 turns, 5 turns, it hadn't turned off. My heart rate quickened. I tried to shake it, accelerating, weaving slightly, hoping to lose them. But the car matched my every movement. Panic set in. My hands gripped the wheels so tightly my knuckles turned white. My mind raced. Why are they following me? What do they want? My children, they can't be in danger. I veered onto a side street, hoping to lose the vehicle in the twisting neighborhood roads. Instead, the car sped up, closing the distance until it was practically glued to my bumper. Then, without warning, the car swerved toward me, horns blaring. My stomach dropped. I yanked the wheel, tires screeching, and our car skidded off the road into a shallow ditch. My first thought was of my children. Are they okay? They were asleep, unharmed, but I had slammed my head on the wheel. Stars danced behind my eyes, and disorientation clouded my thinking. The other car stopped abruptly. A man got out, his steps deliberate, heavy, and menacing as he approached us. My heart froze. I tried to unlock the doors, but in my panic, the key slipped from my fingers and fell under the seat. The man pounded on the car windows, yelling threats I couldn't understand over the pounding of my own heart. Minutes dragged like hours. Every second felt eternal as the man banged, shouted, and circled the car. My children stirred, groaning in sleep, oblivious to the danger outside. Then, out of nowhere, headlights appeared from behind the attacker. Another car pulled up. A stranger jumped out and confronted him. I didn't hear much of what they said, but the man hesitated, his eyes darting between us and this new figure. Within moments, he ran back to his car and sped off into the dark night. The stranger, calm and steady, walked up to my side and asked if we were okay. I nodded frantically, tears streaming down my cheeks, and managed a whispered thank you before he returned to his car and drove off, disappearing as quietly as he had arrived. I fumbled for my keys, got the car started, and slowly drove home, hands trembling. My children slept peacefully through it all, unaware of how close we had come to real danger. When I finally pulled into the driveway, relief hit like a tidal wave. My heart was still racing, but the tension in my shoulders eased slightly. That night, Thanksgiving became something more than family, food, and tradition. It became a reminder of how fragile life is, how easily it can be threatened, and how important it is to be grateful for every second of safety. Even now, I can't drive past that stretch of road without my chest tightening, my pulse quickening. The memory of that man behind us, relentless, and the sudden silent hero who appeared just in time, is burned into my mind. Thanksgiving has a new meaning for me. Thankful not just for the food and laughter, but for life itself. The year I turned 13, Thanksgiving felt exactly like it always had. Warm, predictable, and safe. The smell of my mom's stuffing drifted through the house, My little sister was arguing over who got the biggest role, and my father was clearing his throat for his usual pre-dinner scripture reading. Everything was familiar, comfortable. Then came the sound. A strange baying cry echoed from outside, long, trembling, and not quite human. All 5 of us froze. My fork hovered halfway between the bowl and my plate as we heard it again, this time farther away, like something calling out into the night. My father sighed, annoyed more than alarmed, and pushed his chair back. "I'll handle it," he muttered. We watched him walk to the front door. The porch light flicked on, cutting a triangle into the darkness. In that beam of pale light, a silhouette appeared, waist-high, hunched, still. At first, I thought it was a child, but when he stepped closer, I realized he was a young man, maybe 25, though he looked older from exhaustion. He wore an oversized gray sweater hanging off one shoulder, sweatpants stained and torn at the knees, and, most unsettling of all, he had no shoes. His bare feet were blackened with dirt, cracked and bleeding in places. "What do you need?" my father snapped. The young man swallowed. "Food, please, just something to eat." His voice wasn't aggressive, it was desperate, hollowed out. Something inside me twisted because he looked like someone who hadn't been spoken to kindly in a very long time. I expected my father to yell, to slam the door, to protect us. Instead, he shocked all of us. He said, "Wait here." My mother and siblings stared at each other in disbelief as he walked back into the kitchen, fixed a plate with turkey, potatoes, and a roll, and handed it to the stranger without a word. Then he closed the door and sat back down, as if nothing unusual had happened. None of us asked questions, not yet. The young man shuffled down the sidewalk until he disappeared into the dark. We finished dinner, though the mood had shifted. My father didn't mention him again, and after an hour or so, everyone began drifting off to bed. Around 10:30, I got up to use the bathroom. On the way back to my room, I felt a faint draft coming from the kitchen. That's when I heard it, soft shuffling outside the back door. A raccoon, I told myself, just a raccoon. But curiosity, or stupidity, pushed me toward the door. I lifted a corner of the curtain and felt my stomach drop. The young man was back. He sat on the bottom step of our porch, barefoot and shivering, eating an apple. Not devouring it, eating slowly, politely, almost ceremonially. When he finished, he placed the core neatly on the step beside him. Then he lifted his head and looked around the yard, as if remembering something, or someone. He wasn't angry, he wasn't threatening, but there was something deeply wrong about the scene. How quiet he was, how strangely he moved, how carefully he handled the apple core like it mattered. Then he stood and walked toward our old swing set. He sat down and began gently swaying back and forth. The chains creaked softly through the cold air. I backed away from the door so fast I nearly tripped. Terror swallowed the common sense right out of me. I didn't wake my parents, I didn't call out. I just ran to my room, crawled into bed, and pulled the blankets over my head. The next morning, everything looked normal. The apple core was gone, the swings were still, no footprints in the frost. At breakfast, my father acted like he hadn't seen or heard anything unusual. When I finally worked up the courage to ask him what he thought about the man, he paused for only a split second before changing the subject. We never saw the young man again. But every Thanksgiving night, when the house gets quiet and the cold settles in, I think about him sitting on our swing set, swaying gently, staring at the house as if remembering something. And I still wonder why my father wasn't surprised, as if he already knew the boy would come back. My name is Olivia, and when I was 15, Thanksgiving at my grandparents' house was the highlight of my year. Grandma's tiny Michigan home always smelled like cinnamon rolls and turkey, and every cousin, aunt, and uncle squeezed into every corner of that place. It felt chaotic, warm, and familiar. I loved it. That year, the holiday felt especially magical. My cousins begged me to stay the night, insisting Grandma would definitely say yes. When she agreed, smiling that soft, proud grandma smile, I felt like I'd just won the lottery. A whole night of games, movies, junk food, and laughter. After everyone else left, the house finally settled into silence. It was just us three girls in the spare room, surrounded by blankets, leftover pie, and a big bowl of popcorn Grandma made just in case we got hungry again. We bounced between rooms all evening, the spare bedroom, the basement man cave, even the backyard swings, until Grandma yelled at us to get inside because it was freezing. By 11 p.m., she tucked us in and put on an old Disney movie. One cousin was already snoring. The other was half asleep with popcorn still on her lap. I drifted off too, fast and warm. Hours later, something pulled me out of sleep. Floorboards creaking softly outside the door. The door was cracked just enough for me to hear clearly but not see out. I figured it was just Grandma checking on us. She always worried someone would fall out of bed or steal a cookie at 2 a.m. I closed my eyes again. The footsteps faded, then returned. This time, closer. My stomach tightened. Something felt wrong. Not just Grandma checking wrong, but different, hesitant, heavy. For reasons I still can't explain, I forced myself to lift my head slightly, just enough for my eyes to peek toward the doorway. A figure stood there. Tall, broad, still. It wasn't Grandpa. His posture was different, and his head was too smooth. My heart dropped to the mattress. It was my uncle. The uncle everybody whispered about. The uncle who didn't come to Thanksgiving anymore. The uncle my dad had always told me to avoid. He stepped inside quietly, almost too quietly for a man his size. He moved toward the bed slowly, like he had all the time in the world. I kept perfectly still, praying he couldn't see that I was awake. He stopped right next to me, close enough for me to smell alcohol on his clothes. My breath froze in my chest. He raised a finger to his lips. Shh. Then his hand reached down and touched my hair, brushing it away from my face like he had the right to. My heart hammered so violently I thought it would shake the blankets. Then he leaned down over me. I tried to scream, but his hand clamped over my mouth instantly, forcing my head into the pillow. His weight shifted forward, and I felt my entire body turn to ice. That's when my cousin woke up. She bolted upright and screamed, shrill, panicked, loud. So loud it snapped Grandma awake instantly. Grandma charged into the room and shrieked his name, shoving him off me with a force I didn't know she had. She yelled at him to get out of this house right now, over and over. He didn't fight back. He just backed out of the room, eyes dull, like he wasn't even really present. Later, Grandma admitted he used to sneak in sometimes, steal alcohol, steal food, sleep in the basement when he had nowhere else to go. He still had an old spare tea from years ago. The police found him sitting on the back steps, drunk, pockets full of stolen beer, a joint tucked behind his ear, and a parole bracelet blinking on his ankle. Violation after violation. He was arrested that night. But the truth? They couldn't charge him with what he tried to do to me. No physical proof. No witnesses except my cousin, who panicked and couldn't remember what she saw. My dad spent thousands on lawyers trying to keep him locked up. My grandmother cried for weeks. I slept with the lights on for months. He went back to prison anyway. Parole violations, assault on my grandpa, possession. As far as I know, he's still in there. And sometimes, late at night, those same floorboards in my house creak the same way, and my whole body remembers the feeling of his hand pressing my face into that pillow. That Thanksgiving felt normal at first. Turkey, family jokes, the usual chaos. But that night turned into the scariest one of my life. My parents left unexpectedly for a quick emergency meeting across town, promising they'd be home soon. I didn't like being alone at night, but I tried to distract myself with TV. Around 9:15, I heard something, a slow scraping sound at the back door. At first, I thought it was a branch or an animal, but then it happened again, longer this time, like someone dragging something sharp across the glass. I grabbed a kitchen knife and peeked through the curtain. A man stood there, hunched over, working at the lock with something metal. I dialed 911, whispering into the phone, hands trembling. They told me to hide. I ran to my room and locked the door, then hid in the closet among winter coats and boxes. Everything was silent for a moment. Then I heard the back door open. He was inside. Doors opened, cabinets slammed, footsteps moved through the house, slow, deliberate, searching. Then he came upstairs. I could hear him breathing on the other side of my bedroom door before he forced it open. He walked around the room. I watched through the tiny gap in the closet door as his shadow moved across the carpet. He stopped right by the closet. I held my breath so tightly my chest burned. After a moment that felt like a lifetime, he moved away. Then I heard sirens. The man fled out the side door, disappearing into the neighborhood before officers could catch him. My parents came home shaking and apologizing, terrified about what could have happened. He was never found. And every now and then, when the house gets too quiet, I swear I hear that same slow scraping at the back door. Don't forget to subscribe for more scary stories. Thank you for watching.